So here we see the Direct Audit's Auditor Console. What the Auditor Console allows the manager to do is to see all of the sessions that he's allowed to search and replay in one single pane of glass. So I can come in here and use one of these pre-canned queries, or I can choose to create one of my own. And if I want to create one of my own, I can do it with a simple text query like you would in Google, or I can create a query and save it for use later. So let's take a look at one of these pre-canned ones to see how it was defined. If I go in here and look at, let's say, Unix privileged commands, if I right-click on that and look at properties, I can see that the definition for the Unix privileged commands includes just Unix sessions, where the text of the command includes either su, sudo, or dzdo. So let's take a look at some of the sessions that have been captured today. If I come to my Auditor Console, select the Today search, I can see a set of sessions, both Unix as well as Windows sessions. I can see what machine they were captured off of. I can sort by any of those. I can even see things like when it started and stopped, if it's still in progress, what client it came from, and then I can include a review status. Let's say that I find an interesting session and I want to update its review status to be reviewed by someone like a security manager or another person. I can change that state. The nice thing about Direct Audit is it doesn't just capture a video of what happened on the system, it also captures all the events and allows you to reuse those events in order to decide what part of the video might be of interest to you, as well as to do the searching that we've talked about. I can right-click and select the index command list, and I can see here this was a fairly short session where a user logged in, tried to SU to root, and then he tried to get into the etc password file. This is one that we should definitely follow up on. We can see today that Corey also had a session on a Windows machine. So let's take a look at these two sessions and see what this user was up to. What we can see here is that the replayer provides me three different views. One is a video replay window. The second is a list of all the events. That's the same list that we just looked at in the searching tool. And then there's a summary of the session that allows me to see who the user was, what machine he was accessing, and the information about when it started and stopped. If you look along the bottom, you can see here I can play the session, I can speed it up, I can even get a little thumbnail of what was happening on the screen at a particular time within the session. So let's go ahead and start the replay of this session. The fact that we were able to capture full motion video of the user's session is very important. It's so that we don't miss any moment of what happened during that session. We don't just capture a screenshot when the mouse is clicked or when a key is pressed. Instead, we capture all of the context of the user's actions by ensuring that all of the changes on the screen, all the mouse movements, all of the text entry is all captured in full motion video. So let's make this replayer a little bit bigger and watch this user's session. If we're having a hard time seeing what happened during this session, we can collapse this window and see it in full screen. We can even zoom in and see more information to see the detail of the user's activities. So as we see here, the user has brought up Active Directory users and computers. It looks like he's searching around for the place where he can add himself to a group membership. And now it looks like he's actually going ahead and trying to add himself to what it looks like is the domain users, which is a very powerful Active Directory user. Now, of course, he doesn't have permissions to do this, but just the fact that he's attempted it is important. And so you can see here that when he goes to apply that, he doesn't actually have the permissions and gives up and goes ahead and exits out. By looking at this session, we can see that even though no substantial change was made in the infrastructure, just the attempt at doing something that was against policy is something that we've captured. And so it's very important to be able to monitor users' actions, not just the results. Let's also take a look at his Unix session. Here we can see a replay of the user's Unix session. All the same features that I talked about with the Windows session are available for Unix users. And so as the user is actually typing a command, we can see it being typed. We can see that he tried to SU to root, was unsuccessful, and we know for a fact that he's actually going to try to get into the etc password file. This is something that we don't want users who aren't supposed to have access to actually be able to do. So one of the interesting features of this replayer is that we can actually export the movie file. I can also export the text of the file, which gives me a transcript of all of the actions taken on the system. Finally, I can even select text right out of the session and copy it to my clipboard. So you might ask yourself, if I give all of my managers access to search and replay sessions, how do I limit what sessions they can access to just the servers or users that they're supposed to be monitoring? The way that we do this is through audit roles. Audit roles is a great feature because it allows me to, very much like I define a search, I can define a subset of sessions that any user is allowed to see at any given time. So for example, I have a Windows auditor role. If I take a look at this, we can see that the user only has access to Windows sessions, not to Unix sessions. And then I can assign Active Directory users to this role that would only allow them to see their Windows sessions. Further, I can add additional criteria, just like in a search, that allows me to define what time or set of systems, what kind of text was seen, what kind of applications were run, and that will limit the number of sessions that they're ever allowed to search or replay. So the great thing about audit roles is it allows me to define at a very granular level what sessions any user is allowed to have access to, and it allows me to manage them simply by adding or removing users from an Active Directory group. It's very straightforward. So this has been an overview of just some of the great features of Direct Audit. For more information, you should check out our website. There's lots of great demos, white papers, and more.